The great chamber of Axiom Prime had stood for 10,000 years. Its walls were made of crystal that sang when light touched them. Its ceiling stretched so high that clouds sometimes formed beneath it. 12 thrones sat in a circle at the center, each one carved from the sacred stone of a founding world. For 100 centuries, the elder species had gathered here to decide the fate of the galaxy. Today, they would decide the fate of Earth. Speaker Voroth of the Drenari rose from his throne. He was tall and thin, with blue-gray skin that shifted colors with his mood. Right now it was dark, almost black. This meant he was angry. "We have been patient," he said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "We welcomed the humans when they first reached the stars. We gave them maps. We gave them trading rights. We asked only that they follow our laws." He pressed a button on his throne. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a map of the galaxy with human territory marked in red. The red had grown much larger over the past 50 years. They have violated 17 territorial statutes. They have settled worlds without permission. They have built ships without reporting them. They have refused to open their borders to inspection. Another council member spoke. She was Matriarch Yanel of the Torvan Sisterhood. Her fur eyes blinked slowly as she studied the map. "They are children," she said. "They have been among the stars for only 112 years. Perhaps they simply do not understand our ways." "That excuse has grown old," Voroth replied. "They understand perfectly well. They simply do not care." At the edge of the chamber, standing on a small platform reserved for lesser species, Ambassador Elena Vasquez listened to every word. She was 53 years old. With gray hair, she refused to die and eyes that had seen too many diplomatic failures. She had served humanity among the stars for 27 years. She had never felt so helpless. "May I speak?" she asked. Voroth looked at her the way someone might look at a pet that had learned a new trick. "You may." Elena stepped forward. Her translator device hummed quietly against her throat. "Honored Council, humanity has broken no laws that matter. The worlds we settled were abandoned. No species had claimed them for thousands of years. We brought life back to dead rocks. We built cities where there was only dust. The statutes are clear." Voroth interrupted. "All expansion must be approved by this council. You did not ask permission, because you would have said no." Elena kept her voice calm. "You always say no. In 112 years, humanity has requested colonial rights 47 times. You have approved 3 requests. 3 worlds for 8 billion people who need room to grow. Your population is your problem, not ours, so we solved it ourselves. We took nothing that belonged to anyone else. We threatened no one. We simply grew." Voroth's skin flashed red for a moment. "You grew without permission. You built military vessels without permission. You developed weapons without permission. We built enough ships to protect our merchants from pirates. Nothing more, so you claim. But you refuse to let us verify this. You refuse to open your shipyards to inspection. What are you hiding, Ambassador?" Elena said nothing. She had no answer that would satisfy them. The truth was complicated. The truth was secret. The truth was that humanity had learned a very hard lesson shortly after first contact. The Melvani hegemony had seemed friendly at first. They had offered trade, technology, partnership. Then they had landed on the colony world of New Brisbane and taken 12,000 humans as slaves. It had taken humanity 15 years to get them back. By the time they did, only 4,000 were still alive. The galaxy had done nothing. The Council had issued a statement of concern. The Melvani had received a fine equal to roughly 3 months of their military budget. And humanity had learned that out here, among the stars, justice meant nothing without power. So humanity had built power, quietly, secretly, in places the Council would never think to look. But Elena could not say any of this, so she simply stood in silence and waited. Voroth seemed pleased by her silence. He turned back to the Council. "I call for a vote. The resolution is as follows. Humanity will surrender all colonial holdings beyond their original 3 approved worlds. They will reduce their fleet to no more than 10 patrol vessels. They will submit to protectorate status under Council governance. They will allow full inspection of all facilities, military and civilian." Elena felt cold. Protectorate status. It was a polite word for slavery. The protectorate species had no vote, no voice, no rights. They existed at the pleasure of the council. Their resources could be taken freely. Their people could be conscripted for labor. And if we refuse? She asked. Vorath smiled. At least, his face made a shape that humans had learned to call a smile. It was not a kind expression. Then the council will take corrective action. You have 30 standard cycles to comply. The vote was quick. 10 in favor, 2 abstaining. No one voted against. Elena returned to her ship in a daze. Her staff surrounded her, asking questions, but she barely heard them. She was thinking about what she had to tell her government. She was thinking about the war that was about to begin. The journey back to Earth took 6 days. Elena spent most of it in her cabin, reading reports and composing messages. When her ship finally entered orbit around the blue-green world that had given birth to her species, she felt like crying. It was so beautiful. It was so fragile. She took a shuttle down to Geneva, to the old building where the United Nations Space Command had made its headquarters. The Security Council was already waiting for her. Presidents and prime ministers sat around a long table, their faces grim. They had received her advance reports. They knew what was coming. 30 days, said Secretary General Adaora Obi. She was a small woman with iron in her spine and fire in her eyes. 30 days to surrender everything we have built. That is their demand, Elena confirmed. And if we refuse, they will send a fleet. They will destroy our defenses. They will force compliance. How large a fleet? A door opened at the back of the room. A tall man in a military uniform walked in. His chest was covered with medals, but he wore them like they weighed nothing. His hair was white, his face was lined, but his eyes were sharp and clear. Fleet Admiral Chen Weilin had served humanity for 42 years. He had fought pirates in the asteroid belts. He had faced down Melvani raiders during the slave crisis. He had built humanity's space navy from 12 converted cargo ships into something much, much more. Our intelligence suggests they will assemble between 500 and 700 vessels, he said. They believe this will be a show of force, nothing more. They do not expect us to fight. Can we fight? Asked the president of the European Federation. Admiral Chen smiled. It was a thin smile, but it was real. That depends on what you think fighting means. He pressed a button on his wrist device. A hologram appeared above the table. It showed a ship unlike anything the Council had ever seen. It was massive, bristling with weapons, its hull marked with the flag of Earth. This is the EDS Unconquered. She is a Titan-class dreadnought. She is 3 kilometers long. She carries enough firepower to crack a moon. And she is just one of 30. The room was silent. 30, whispered Secretary General Obi. 30 dreadnoughts, 47 heavy cruisers, 89 destroyers, 116 frigates and corvettes, all hidden in places the Council has never thought to look, all crewed and ready. How? Asked the American president. How did we build all this without anyone knowing? Because we learned from the Melvani. We learned that the galaxy is not kind. We learned that the Council protects only those who can protect themselves. So for 50 years, we have been preparing for this day. We hoped it would never come, but we knew it might. Admiral Chen changed the hologram. Now it showed a star map with dozens of green dots scattered across human space. The obsidian yards in the Kuiper Belt. The forge stations in the asteroid fields of Epsilon Eridani. The ghost docks of Tau Ceti. We built in secret because we had to. We built in secret because we remembered what happened to New Brisbane. Elena watched the faces around the table. She saw fear, yes, but she also saw something else. She saw hope. What do you recommend, Admiral? Asked Secretary General Obi. Chen turned off the hologram. He stood straight, hands clasped behind his back. I recommend we do not fire first. We are not aggressors. We do not want war. But I also recommend we do not surrender. We do not kneel. When the Council's fleet enters our space, we will be waiting for them, and we will show them that humanity is not a species to be bullied. They will attack us, Elena said quietly. Yes, they will. And then, Admiral Chen looked at her. For a moment, something sad flickered in his eyes. Then it was gone, replaced by steel. Then we answer with battleships. The Security Council voted that night. The decision was unanimous. 3 days later, the Council's observer arrived on Earth. His name was Tethral, and he was a member of the Voss Collective. He had 4 arms, 2 legs, and compound eyes that saw in 16 spectrums. He had been sent to watch humanity prepare its surrender. Instead, he watched them prepare something else entirely. He saw soldiers training in zero gravity. He saw factories running day and night. He saw children going to school and parents going to work and life continue. The Obsidian Yards had no official name. They did not appear on any map. As far as the galaxy knew, the distant reaches of the Kuiper Belt contained nothing but ice and rock and ancient silence. The galaxy was wrong. Captain Yuki. Tanaka stood on the observation deck of the Ed's Unconquered and watched her home come alive. All around her, hidden in the shadows of frozen mountains, ships were waking up. Running lights blinked on like stars being born. Engines hummed with barely contained power. After years of sleeping in the dark, humanity's secret fleet was finally ready to fly. Beautiful, isn't it? Said a voice behind her. I turned. Commander Marcus Okonkwo stood in the doorway, his dark skin catching the reflected light of 1,000 vessels. He was the captain of the carrier Rising Sun, and he was one of the few people in the galaxy Yuki truly trusted. Beautiful and terrible, she replied. I never wanted to use these ships. Not really, none of us did. Marcus walked to stand beside her. But wanting doesn't matter anymore. The Council made their choice. Do you think we can win? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was soft. I think we have to. Yuki nodded. She thought about the path that had led them here. She thought about the stories her grandmother had told her. Stories about New Brisbane, and the slave crisis, and the 15 years of horror that had changed humanity forever. Her grandmother had been one of the survivors. The official history said that the Melvani hegemony had taken 12,000 humans as contract workers. The truth was simpler and uglier. They had been slaves. They had been worked in mines and factories and places that did not bear thinking about. The children had been separated from their parents. The old and sick had been left to die. Earth had begged the Council for help. The Council had expressed concern and done nothing. The Melvani were too powerful, too useful, too well-connected. Human lives did not matter enough. So humanity had rescued their people themselves. It had taken 15 years of secret operations, of stolen ships and desperate raids and sacrifices that would never be recorded in any history book. When it was over, 4,000 survivors came home. 8,000 did not. The galaxy had watched and shrugged. The Council had issued a fine, and humanity had learned the truth about the stars. Out here, no one would save you. Out here, you were only as safe as you were strong. So humanity had become strong. All captains, report to the command center, said a voice over the intercom. It was Admiral Chen. We have new intelligence. Yuki and Marcus took a shuttle across the yards to the command station. It was hidden inside an asteroid the size of a small moon, hollowed out and filled with the most advanced technology humanity had ever built. The command center was at its heart, a room full of screens and consoles and very serious people. Admiral Chen stood at the central display. Beside him was Rear Admiral Priya Sharma, commander of the First Strike Group. She was small and fierce, with eyes that seemed to see everything and judge most of it harshly. Thank you for coming, Chen said. I will be brief. Our intelligence network has confirmed the composition of the Council's fleet. He activated the display. A star map appeared, showing the border of human space. Red dots moved toward it like a swarm of angry insects. 617 vessels, 8 species. The Drenari are providing the largest contingent. 212 ships including their flagship, the Arbiter of Peace. The Torvan Sisterhood has sent 83 vessels. The Kef Dominion, 71. And so on. Their weapons systems? Asked Admiral Sharma. Standard Council technology. Plasma cannons, kinetic missiles, conventional shields. Nothing we have not planned for. Their commanders? Fleet Commander Catholan of the Drenari is in overall command. He is old and proud and convinced that humans are primitives, who will surrender at the first show of force. The other fleet commanders are similar. None of them have fought a real war in over a century. Yuki studied the map. 600 ships was an enormous force. But humanity had something the Council did not know about. Something that might make all the difference. What about their intelligence? She asked. Do they know about us? About the real fleet? Chen shook his head. As far as they know, humanity has 40 patrol vessels and a handful of armed cargo ships. They believe this will be easy. Good, said Marcus. Let them believe it. That brings me to our strategy. Chen changed the display. Now it showed the Sol system, humanity's home, with green dots marking positions throughout. We will not meet them at the border. We will not give them a chance to run. We will let them come to Sol, to Earth itself, where they will broadcast their final demands for surrender. And then, asked Sharma, then we appear. All 312 ships. We surround them and give them one chance to leave. If they refuse, if they fire first. Chen paused. His face was hard. Then we show them what humanity can do when we have no other choice. They will fire first. Yuki said quietly. Catholan will not accept the humiliation of retreat. I know. Chen looked at each captain in turn. That is why I need to ask you something. When the battle begins, there will be chaos. Ships will be destroyed. Escape pods will launch. Wounded vessels will drift helpless. He took a deep breath. I need you to remember that we are not monsters. We will destroy their ability to fight. We will break their fleet. But we will not slaughter helpless enemies. We will not murder crews who have surrendered. We will not become the thing we built these ships to fight against. The room was silent. Yuki thought about New Brisbane. She thought about her grandmother's stories, about the cruelty and indifference that had marked humanity's first real lesson about the galaxy. It would be so easy to repay that cruelty. So satisfying. So wrong. I understand, Admiral, she said. The unconquered will follow your orders. All of them. One by one, the other captains agreed. Marcus, Sharma, all of them. Chen nodded. Something like relief flickered in his eyes. Thank you. Now, there is one more thing we must discuss. The Council has sent an observer to Earth. His name is Tethral, and he is supposed to be monitoring our surrender preparations. Does he suspect anything? Marcus asked. He suspects everything. He has been sending reports to the Council warning them that humans are too calm, too organized, too confident. He believes we are hiding something. Are they listening to him? No, they think he has gone soft from spending too much time among us. But when the battle is over, Tethral may be important. He is the only member of the Council's delegation who has seen who we really are. The briefing continued for another 2 hours. Details were discussed. Positions were assigned. Plans were refined. When it was finally over, Yuki returned to the unconquered feeling like she carried the weight of worlds on her shoulders. Her ship was waiting for her. 3 kilometers of armored hull and devastating weapons, crewed by 4,000 men and women, who had trained for years for a battle they hoped would never come. Yuki walked through the corridors and felt the ship humming around her. The unconquered was not just metal and circuits. She was alive in a way that only starship captains truly understood. She had a personality, a presence, a will of her own. Captain on the bridge, announced her first officer as Yuki entered the command center. At ease, Yuki said. She walked to her chair and sat down, looking at the main view screen. Stars filled the display, cold and distant and beautiful. Navigation, plot a course for Sol. All ahead slow until we clear the yards. Captain. The unconquered began to move. All around her, other ships were doing the same. Dreadnoughts and cruisers and destroyers, all flowing out of the darkness like a river of steel. Yuki watched them go and felt something strange in her chest. Pride, maybe. Fear, certainly. But also something else, something that felt like the beginning of a story. For 50 years, humanity had hidden in the shadows. They had built in secret and trained in silence, and hoped that the galaxy would leave them alone. But the galaxy had not left them alone. The galaxy had come to their door with threats and ultimatums, and the certainty that humans were weak. The galaxy was about to learn the truth. On Earth, Observer Tethral stood at the window of his quarters and watched the sunset. He had been on this planet for 3 weeks now, and he still did not understand these people. They should have been panicking. They should have been negotiating, begging, preparing to submit. Instead, they went about their lives as if nothing was happening. Children played in parks. Workers went to their jobs. Soldiers trained with quiet efficiency. It made no sense. "You are troubled," said Ambassador Vasquez. She had come to visit him again, as she did every evening. She seemed to genuinely enjoy talking with him, which was strange. He was supposed to be her enemy. "I am confused," Tethral admitted. "I have watched your species for weeks now. I have read your history. I have studied your culture, and I still do not understand." "What don't you understand? You know what is coming. You know the Council's fleet will be here in days. You know that you cannot win, yet you do not surrender." "Why?" Elena smiled. It was a sad smile, but there was steel beneath it. "Do you know about New Brisbane?" she asked. "The incident with the Melvani?" "Yes, it was regrettable. Regrettable." Elena laughed, but there was no humor in it. 12,000 people enslaved, 8,000 murdered, and the Council called it regrettable. The Melvani were punished. They were fined. They paid an amount that meant nothing to them, and they went on with their lives. Elena looked at him. Her eyes were ancient and knowing. "Who told you we have 40 ships?" Before Tethral could respond, an alert chimed on his personal device. He looked at it and felt his blood go cold. The Council's fleet had entered human space. They were broadcasting demands for immediate surrender. "It begins," Elena said softly. Tethral looked at her, then at the sky, then back at her again. "What are you hiding?" he whispered. Elena turned and walked toward the door. She paused with her hand on the frame. "Come with me. It's time you saw the truth." She led him to a military facility on the outskirts of the city. Armed guards checked their credentials and let them pass. They entered a room filled with screens and equipment and serious-faced officers. On the main screen, the Council's fleet hung in space like a cloud of angry wasps. 600 ships, the most powerful force assembled in a century. And then the screen changed. From the darkness around them, lights appeared. Hundreds of lights. Ships that should not exist, could not exist, were appearing from nowhere like ghosts becoming real. Tethral counted them. His mind could not accept what his eyes were seeing. 300. 312. Humanity had been hiding an entire fleet. Not patrol vessels, but warships. Dreadnoughts larger than anything the Council had ever built. Cruisers bristling with weapons. Destroyers and frigates moving in perfect formation. "Impossible," he breathed. "We had good teachers," Elena replied. "The galaxy taught us that mercy was weakness. So we prepared for this day. We hoped it would never come, but we prepared anyway." On the screen, Admiral Chen's face appeared. He was broadcasting on all frequencies. "Council Fleet, this is Admiral Chen Weilin of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered our territory with hostile intent. We give you one chance to leave peacefully. If you fire upon us, we will respond with everything we have." Tethral watched the Council ships hesitate. He could imagine the chaos on their bridges, the panic, the disbelief. Then the first plasma bolt launched from the Arbiter of Peace. Admiral Chen's face did not change. He gave a single quiet order. "All ships, weapons free," and the night lit up with fire. Fleet Commander Catholan had lived for 217 years. He had commanded ships since before humans had discovered fire. He had fought in 3 wars and won them all without ever losing a single vessel under his command. He had never felt fear in battle. Not once. He felt it now, report. He barked, gripping the arms of his command chair as the Arbiter of Peace shook around him. "What is happening?" "Commander," his tactical officer trailed off, staring at his console with wide eyes. "They are everywhere. 300 ships. Possibly more. Our sensors cannot get an accurate count. That is impossible. Intelligence said they had 40 vessels. Intelligence was wrong. Commander." Another impact rocked the ship. The lights flickered. Somewhere in the distance, Catholan heard the scream of tearing metal. He looked at the main view screen and saw hell. The human fleet had surrounded them. Massive ships, larger than anything the Council had ever built, were firing weapons that cut through shields like paper. Smaller vessels darted between the chaos, fast and deadly, picking off wounded ships with surgical precision. The Council fleet was dying. "Order all ships to fall back," Catholan commanded. "Form defensive positions around the Arbiter. Commander, our communications are being jammed. Only short-range signals are getting through." "Then use short-range. Use whatever we have." The tactical officer tried. On the view screen, Catholan watched pieces of his fleet respond. Some ships managed to form groups. Others simply drifted, their engines destroyed, their crews dying in the cold dark. He had brought 600 ships to this system. He had expected to fire a few warning shots and accept humanity's surrender. He had expected to be home within a week, celebrating an easy victory. Instead, he was watching the greatest military disaster in Council history. "Commander," said a quiet voice. Catholan turned to see Observer Tethral standing at the entrance to the bridge. He had returned from Earth just hours before the battle, full of warnings that no one had listened to. "You were right," Catholan admitted. "The words tasted like ash. I should have listened. It would not have mattered. Even if we had known, we could not have stopped this. Then what do we do?" Tethral looked at the view screen. His compound eyes reflected the fires burning across a dozen ships. "We surrender. We stop the killing before there is nothing left to save. Surrender." Catholan stood up, his pride burning even as his fleet died around him. "The Drenari do not surrender. We have never surrendered. Then the Drenari will die here. All of us, every ship, every crew, every life. Is your pride worth that?" Before Catholan could answer, a new voice crackled over the communications system. It was coming from outside, from one of the human ships, Arbiter of Peace. "This is Captain Yuki Tanaka of the EDS Unconquered. Your fleet is broken. Your weapons are failing. You cannot win this fight. Stand down now, and no more of your people need to die." Catholan looked at the view screen. The Unconquered hung in space like a mountain of steel, its weapons still smoking from recent fire. It was beautiful in a terrible way, like a storm or a blade or a predator that had finally stopped pretending to be tame. "She is offering mercy," Tethral said. "Take it, and if I refuse, then she will destroy us, and she will be right to do so. We came here to enslave her people. We fired the first shot. Everything that has happened is our fault, not theirs." Catholan closed his eyes. He thought about his world, his family, the generations of Drenari who had served on ships named Arbiter. He thought about what they would say if they could see him now. They would tell him to survive. They would tell him to protect his crew. They would tell him that there was no shame in losing to a stronger enemy, only in refusing to accept the truth. He opened his eyes, opened a channel to the human fleet. "Commander, do it." The communications officer worked his console. After a moment, he nodded. Channel open. Catholan stood straight. He had lost, but he would lose with dignity. "Captain Tanaka, this is Fleet Commander Catholan. I am ordering all Council ships to cease fire. We surrender." There was a long pause. Then Captain Tanaka's voice returned, softer now. "We accept your surrender, Commander. Order your ships to power down weapons and hold position. Medical vessels are already moving to assist your wounded. No harm will come to anyone who follows these instructions." Catholan gave the orders. Across the battlefield, the firing slowly stopped. Ships that had been trying to fight or flee went still, their weapons going dark, their engines falling silent. It was over, on the bridge of the Unconquered. Yuki Tanaka let out a breath she had not realized she was holding. Her hands were shaking. She hid them behind her back so her crew would not see. "All ships, report status," she said. The reports came in. The human fleet had lost 9 ships. For destroyers, 3 frigates, 2 cruisers, 327 crew members dead, another 500 wounded. The Council fleet had lost much more. 173 ships destroyed, another 208 badly damaged. Crew casualties were still being counted, but early estimates suggested over 40,000 dead. Yuki closed her eyes and tried not to think about those numbers. 40,000 people who would never go home, never see their families, never live another day. And for what? Because their leaders had been too proud to leave humanity alone. "Captain," said her first officer, "Admiral Chen is requesting a channel. Put him through." Admiral Chen's face appeared on her personal screen. He looked tired but relieved. "Excellent work, Captain. You handled the Unconquered well. Thank you, Admiral. But the credit belongs to the crew. It always does." Chen paused. "I need you to do something for me. The Arbiter of Peace is damaged but intact. I want you to dock with it and meet with Commander Catholan in person." "Sir, we won the battle, Yuki. Now we need to win the peace. Catholan is the ranking council officer in this system. He needs to understand that we are not going to slaughter his people or enslave them, or do any of the things that the council would have done to us. Yuki understood. It was not enough to defeat an enemy. You had to show them what kind of victor you were going to be. I will go immediately, Admiral. I will go immediately, Admiral. She took a shuttle across the battlefield. Through the windows, she could see the wreckage of war. Broken ships tumbled through space, trailing debris and atmosphere. Rescue pods floated among them, their emergency beacons blinking like dying stars. Human ships moved through the chaos, but not to attack. Medical vessels collected escape pods from all species. Repair teams helped stabilize damaged council ships. Engineering crews worked to save crews who had been trying to kill them just hours ago. Yuki saw a human destroyer pulling alongside a crippled Torvan frigate. Instead of firing, it was extending docking tubes to help evacuate the wounded. This is who we are, she thought. This is who we choose to be. The Arbiter of Peace was a mess. Its hull was scored with weapon impacts. Whole sections were open to space, but its core was intact, and its crew was still alive. Yuki docked at one of the surviving airlocks and walked into the council flagship. She was met by a group of Drenari officers, their weapons holstered, but their eyes hostile. I am Captain Tanaka, she said. I am here to speak with Commander Catholan. The officers exchanged glances. Then one of them nodded and led her through the damaged corridors. Catholan was waiting in his command center. He stood when she entered, his posture stiff and formal. Captain Tanaka, I did not expect the victor to visit in person. We are not here to gloat, Commander. We are here to help. Catholan made a sound that might have been a bitter laugh. You just destroyed 2/3 of my fleet. You fired first. You came to our home with threats and demands. You gave us no choice. And now, what happens now? Do you enslave us as the Melvani would have? Do you execute the officers and sell the crews to the labor markets? Yuki looked at him with something like pity. Is that what you expected? Is that what the council would have done to us? Catholan did not answer. His silence was answer enough. We are not you, Yuki said. We are not the Melvani. We do not enslave people. We do not sell lives. Your crews will be treated as prisoners of war with full rights under our laws. Your wounded will receive medical care. Your dead will be honored according to your customs. Why? Because that is who we are. Because we built these ships to protect ourselves, not to become monsters. Because if we treated you the way you would have treated us, we would be no better than the galaxy that taught us to fear. Catholan stared at her. For the first time, Yuki saw something in his eyes that was not pride or anger. It looked almost like shame. I have fought many enemies, he said slowly. I have seen species rise and fall. I have watched empires crumble and civilizations die. In all that time, I have never seen anything like this. Like what? Victory without cruelty. Strength without malice. You had every reason to destroy us, Captain. Every reason to make us suffer. Instead, you offer mercy. Mercy is not weakness, Commander. My grandmother taught me that. She survived New Brisbane. She could have spent her life hating the galaxy for what it did to her. Instead, she raised me to be better. Catholan was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, softer, more thoughtful. What happens next? Your fleet will be escorted to a holding area while we negotiate with the council. You personally will be treated as a diplomatic guest, not a prisoner. And when the time comes, you will have the chance to return home with a message. What message? Yuki thought about Admiral Chen's words. She thought about her grandmother. She thought about all the years humanity had spent building in secret, hoping for peace but preparing for war. That humanity is coming to the council, not to conquer, not to punish, but to take our place among the stars as equals. And this time, they will listen. Catholan looked at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, he bowed his head. I believe they will, Captain. For the first time in my long life, I believe they will, outside the damaged viewports. The stars burned cold and bright. The battle was over. The war was won. But the real work was just beginning. The news of the battle spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass on Drenari Prime. The Senate met in emergency session. Speaker Voroth stood before his colleagues with ashes on his robes, the traditional sign of mourning. 173 ships destroyed, 42,000 crew members dead or captured, the greatest military defeat in Drenari history. How is this possible? Demanded Senator Cathvara, her voice sharp with grief and fury. Her son had served on one of the destroyed cruisers. They were primitives. They had 40 ships. We had 600. They lied, Voroth replied. His skin had gone pale gray, the color of shame. They hid their true strength. They built in secret while we watched and laughed at their weakness. Then we send another fleet, a larger one. We call upon our allies. We crush them before they can with what? Voroth interrupted. We sent our best ships to Sol, our best commanders, our best crews. They are gone now, dead or captured. And the humans, he paused, struggling with the next words. The humans are treating our prisoners with dignity. They are healing our wounded. They are honoring our dead. The Senate fell silent. This was not how enemies behaved. This was not how the galaxy worked. There is more, Voroth continued. Admiral Chen has contacted us. He says humanity is sending a delegation to Axiom Prime. They will address the Council directly. They are bringing their fleet. An invasion? No, a demonstration. They want us to see what they can do. And then, Voroth's voice dropped. They want to talk. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. On the Torvan homeworld, Matriarch Yanel received reports of her fleet's destruction with quiet grief. On the Keth Dominion's capital station, military commanders argued about what could have gone wrong. On 100 worlds and stations and ships, beings of every species tried to understand how a species barely a century old had humbled the greatest powers in known space. And on Earth, humanity prepared for the next stage of their plan. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood in her office, looking at a holographic display of the council chamber at Axiom Prime. She had spent 30 years as a diplomat. She had negotiated treaties and trade agreements and ceasefires. She had never negotiated from a position of strength before. You seem troubled, said Observer Tethral. He had chosen to remain on Earth after the battle, fascinated by these strange beings who had defied everything he thought he knew about the galaxy. I am, Elena admitted. We won the battle, but winning the peace is harder. What do you mean? The Council is scared. Scared people do dangerous things. They might try to unite against us. They might decide that humanity is too dangerous to exist. They might try to destroy us before we can destroy them, can they? Elena smiled thinly. They can try. We have 300 ships. They have thousands, if they combine their fleets. But we have advantages they do not understand yet. Our technology is better. Our tactics are better. And our people will fight until the last ship is gone, because we have nowhere else to go. Then why negotiate at all? Why not simply conquer? Because that is not who we are. Elena turned to face him. We build our fleet to survive, not to rule. We do not want to govern the galaxy. We do not want to enslave other species. We just want to be left alone to live in peace. The Council will not understand that. No. They will expect us to act as they would act. They will expect conquest and vengeance and cruelty. We have to show them something different. We have to show them that strength does not always mean oppression. Tethral considered this. In his long career as an observer, he had studied dozens of species. He had seen civilizations rise and fall, watched empires expand and crumble. He had never seen anything like humanity. You are a strange people. He said finally, we know. 3 days later, humanity's delegation departed for Axiom Prime. 40 warships escorted them, enough to make a statement without appearing to threaten total war. Admiral Chen commanded the fleet from the Bridge of the Unconquered. Ambassador Vasquez led the diplomatic team, and Observer Tethral came as an unofficial advisor. Because he understood both sides better than anyone, the journey took 8 days. When they finally emerged from hyperspace near Axiom Prime, they found the Council's remaining fleets waiting for them. Hundreds of ships from a dozen species had gathered to defend the Council's capital. They formed a wall of metal and weapons between humanity and the ancient station. Impressive, Admiral Chen remarked, studying the display. They are terrified, Captain Tanaka said. She stood beside him, her eyes calculating distances and angles out of habit. Look at their formation. They are ready to fight or flee. They do not know which we will make them do. Neither do I honestly. Chen turned to his communications officer. Open a channel. All frequencies. Channel open, Admiral. Chen stood straight and addressed the combined fleets of the galaxy. This is Admiral Chen Weilin of the Earth Defense Force. We have not come to fight. We have not come to conquer. We have come to talk. Our ambassador requests permission to address the council. Our fleet will remain here, in this position, and will not fire unless fired upon. You have my word. There was a long silence. Then a response came, not from the fleets, but from Axiom Prime itself, Admiral Chen. This is Speaker Voroth. The council will hear your ambassador. You may send a shuttle to Docking Bay 7, but your fleet must not approach any closer than its current. The council chamber was exactly as Elena remembered it. 12 thrones in a circle, crystal walls singing with light, a ceiling lost in artificial clouds. But everything else was different. The council members no longer looked at her with contempt or amusement. They looked at her with fear. Ambassador Vasquez, Speaker Voroth said. His voice was carefully controlled, but Elena could see his skin shifting colors with barely suppressed emotion. The council recognizes your presence. You may speak. Elena walked to the center of the chamber. She stood where prisoners had stood, where supplicants had knelt, where lesser species had begged for scraps of the council's attention. She did not kneel. Honored council, she began. 1 month ago, you gave humanity an ultimatum. Surrender our colonies, dismantle our fleet, accept protectorate status. You gave us 30 days to comply. You sent 600 ships to enforce your will. She paused, letting the words sink in. Those ships are gone now. Your fleet is broken. Your commanders are our prisoners. Your soldiers are being treated in our hospitals, healed by our doctors, because that is who we are. You have made your point, Voroth interrupted. You have shown that humanity is stronger than we believed. What do you want? Reparations? Territory? The council's submission? No. The word hung in the air. Several council members looked confused. No, Voroth repeated. We do not want your territory. We do not want your submission. We do not want you to bow before us as you expected us to bow before you. What we want is simpler than that, and perhaps harder. She took a deep breath. We want equality, a seat on this council, a voice in decisions that affect us, the right to live among the stars without being threatened or bullied or enslaved. You have 300 warships, Matriarch Yanel said. You could take whatever you want. Yes, we could. But that is not who we are. Elena looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each council member in turn. 50 years ago, the Melvani hegemony enslaved 12,000 of our people. The council did nothing. You issued a statement and imposed a fine and went on with your lives. We learned that day that the galaxy would not protect us. So we built a fleet that could. And now you will use it to take revenge? Asked the Keth representative. No, we built our ships to survive. We built them so that what happened to New Brisbane could never happen again. We built them because we were afraid, and we had no other choice. Elena's voice softened. But we did not build them to conquer. We did not build them to oppress. We built them to protect our people, and now that we can protect them, we want something more than survival. We want to be your partners, not your enemies. We want to build a galaxy where no species has to live in fear. You expect us to trust you? Voroth demanded. After what you just did to our fleet? No, I expect you to verify. Send inspectors to human space. See how we treat your prisoners. See how we govern our colonies. See who we really are, not who you assumed we were. She stepped closer to the circle of thrones. The galaxy taught us to be strong, but strength without wisdom is just brutality. We could have destroyed every ship in your fleet. We could have murdered every crew. We could have come here with demands and threats and the certainty that might makes right. Instead, we came with an offer. Join us, work with us. Help us build something better than what the galaxy has been. A council that protects all species, not just the powerful. A galaxy where no child has to grow up as a slave, where no colony has to fear being conquered, where strength is used to protect rather than oppress. The chamber was silent. Elena could see the council members struggling with her words, trying to fit them into a universe that had always worked differently. Finally, Tethral stepped forward. He had been silent until now, watching and waiting. "I have lived among humans for weeks," he said. "I have seen how they treat their own people and how they treat strangers. I was on the Arbiter of Peace when Captain Tanaka accepted Commander Catholin's surrender. I saw human ships rescue our wounded and honor our dead." He turned to face the council directly. "They are not lying. They could have destroyed us, and they chose mercy. They could have demanded everything, and they are asking for partnership. I believe them. I believe we should accept their offer." Voroth looked at him for a long moment. Then he looked at Elena. "The council will need time to deliberate. Of course, our fleet will wait at its current position. Our prisoners will continue to receive care. And when you have reached a decision," Elena smiled, and for the first time in her long career, it was a smile of hope rather than determination. "We will be ready to listen." The council deliberated for 7 days. During that time, humanity waited. Their fleet held position outside Axiom Prime, weapons powered down, crews on standby. Admiral Chen spent his hours reviewing reports and playing chess against Captain Tanaka. Ambassador Vasquez met with junior diplomats from various species, answering questions and building relationships that might matter later. And across the galaxy, something strange began to happen. Stories spread about how humans treated their prisoners. Commander Catholin sent messages to his family describing the medical care he had received, the respect shown to him, the conversations he had with his captors. Torvan survivors shared tales of human doctors working through the night to save alien lives. Keth crew members reported that they were being fed, housed, and allowed to contact their homes. This was not how wars were supposed to work. This was not how victors were supposed to behave. On the 4th day, a delegation of junior council representatives asked to visit the human fleet. Ambassador Vasquez granted permission. They toured the unconquered, saw the prisoners' quarters, spoke with wounded enemies who praised their treatment, and returned to Axiom Prime looking confused and thoughtful. On the 6th day, Observer Tethral addressed a gathering of council staff. He spoke about what he had seen on Earth, about the schools and hospitals and cities, about the way humans treated each other and the way they had treated him. He spoke about their history, about New Brisbane and the slave crisis and the 50 years of secret preparation. He spoke about their choice to build strength without losing their souls. "They are not perfect," he concluded. "They have flaws and fears and failures like any species, but they are not the monsters we expected. They are something new, something the galaxy has never seen before." On the 7th day, the council voted. It was not unanimous. The Melvani representative voted against, as did the Keth and the Vortian. They argued that humanity was too dangerous, too unpredictable, too likely to upset the balance of power that had kept the galaxy stable for millennia. But Matriarch Yanel voted in favor. So did the representatives of the Torvan Sisterhood and the Voss Collective and for other species. Speaker Voroth abstained, but his abstention carried the weight of the Draenari's implicit support. The final count was 7 in favor, 3 opposed, 2 abstaining. Humanity had won its seat on the council. Ambassador Vasquez received the news in her quarters aboard the diplomatic shuttle. She sat down heavily on her bed and stared at the wall for a long moment, trying to process what had just happened. 30 years of diplomacy, 50 years of building in secret, 112 years among the stars. All of it had led to this moment. She thought about her grandmother, who had died 10 years ago at the age of 97. She thought about all the stories she had heard growing up, about Earth before the stars, about the first contact that had seemed so full of promise, about New Brisbane and the darkness that followed. Her grandmother had told her once that the galaxy was a cruel place, but that cruelty was not inevitable. "We can be better," she had said. "We can show them that strength and kindness are not opposites. Someday, if we are patient and brave and lucky, they will understand." Elena wiped her eyes and stood up. There was work to do. The ceremony was held in the council chamber 3 days later. Speaker Voroth presided, his skin carefully neutral as he read the formal words of admission. Representatives from all 12 founding species watched as humanity's ambassador walked to the center of the chamber and accepted a small crystal that symbolized their new status. The Galactic Council recognizes the United Nations of Earth as a full member of this body. Voroth intoned, You will have voice and vote in all matters. You will share in the responsibilities of governance. You will be bound by our laws and protected by our treaties. We accept, Elena replied, and we commit ourselves to the principles of justice, cooperation, and mutual defense that this council was founded to uphold. She looked around the chamber at the faces watching her. Some were hostile, some were curious, some were cautiously hopeful. All of them were seeing something they had never seen before. A species that had fought its way to the table, but refused to use that position for domination. We know that trust must be earned, Elena continued. We know that our history with this council has been difficult, but we believe that the galaxy can be better than it has been. We believe that strength can be used to protect rather than oppress. And we believe that if we work together, we can build a future where no species has to live in fear. She paused. We are not asking you to trust us blindly. We are asking you to give us a chance to prove who we really are. There was silence in the chamber. Then, slowly,